do you get any kind of emotional training when it comes to the army, or is the brotherhood kind of what keeps you sane in essence? Because I think that when you do go out to these on these excursions and do become operational, it can have a serious mental toll on people, especially from what you've seen or what they have seen. Is there any kind of emotional support within the army?
There's a lot. It's a lot better now.
Yeah.
When I was away scrapping, there was not a lot there. Early days, but they've learnt, and now they've acted, and there's like sort of trauma risk management when people have been away. There's like decompression to talk about what's gone on within your tour, or if there's sort of a traumatic incident that's happened, then you're encouraged to talk about it, which is important. Where with us, it was just like, you've been fighting like mad. Next day, you're in the house, like try and get back to normal, and it's really difficult, because when you've been hyper vigilant for half a year, it's a long time. 6 months is how long you're out on tour for, maybe a bit longer. To then just come back and just switch off, it's really, really difficult. It's hard. I don't think there's no perfect way to even describe it, because everyone reacts different to when they come home. But like I said, there is courses or elements of trim now within the military, and they do a lot now for soldiers, which is right, because even soldiers who are abroad, they just can't on a Friday pack up and go and see their families. Yeah. And these are young soldiers, like 18, 19 years old, who are away from home. Let's take Cyprus as an example, who are in the block, maybe a bit isolated on their own. Others are away on courses. How do you deal with the isolation of these individuals? Because if you leave them, that's when it becomes a bit of a problem. But now there's methods that are in place for that, because they can't just jump in a car and come home. They're in Cyprus. They're not going to get on a flight and just come back for the weekend. It's more than that. But yeah, it's definitely getting better on what I've heard. I've been away now from the military for a good while, but I do a lot of talks now within the military, and I'm aware of what's going on with like sort of op courage, which is like a team that will go around and talk about physical and emotional resilience, and elements of other people's stories that will be spoken about, and what was right, what was wrong, what we should be doing, and what we need to implement as we move forward. And it's definitely the right thing to do, for sure. So yeah, they're growing as an organisation as well.
That's amazing. And I think that there's so many sectors which really need that support, because I think mental health, like everything, is a muscle. So you need to keep exposing yourself to those uncomfortable situations that you don't want to make a scab, and then every time the scab rips off, you explode. Yeah. And everyone's had, not to the same extent as you, but everyone has mental issues that they probably need to deal with, including myself. Yeah. And I think it's so important for people, especially leaders like yourself, to talk about that so that others can follow and be inspired. When we talk about mental resilience, we'll get to your marathon running, which, by the way, I think is insane. But to start with, talk to me about Iraq and kind of briefly what happened and how you managed that team in the scenario that you were in, because the Battle of Danny Boy was wild.
Chaos.
It was wild. Yeah. How did you manage that?
Yeah, so before we actually go away on operational tours, you do a pre-deployment. So you're working together 6 months prior to even going away. And when I'm talking about working together, you are away and you're living with each other, because this is what you're going to be doing on operations. You go through all different scenarios from doing basic patrolling to doing urban exercises, which is fighting in built-up areas, to improvise explosive device lanes, what you need to do if you get casualties, multiple casualties, how to triage. So you are tested all of the time, and it's repetition as well. So you're put under so much pressure as a leader. And I was 23 years old when I went on my first, not my first tour, because I'd done 2 tours of Kosovo prior to going over to Iraq. But the principles didn't change. You'll still go away and do pre-deployment. You'll still go away and be tested at a very high standard with a lot of pressure, because people need to, or the higher sort of management team are looking at you to make sure that you're good enough and at a standard to go away in operations. Because if you're not, you'll fail, and you won't be either lead battle group or your regiment won't go away. So you are tested and tested and tested. So you get this incredible team cohesion. You get to understand what makes people tick. What's important to individuals, how to get the best out of individuals, because you're working with them
day in, day out,
and you're sleeping in the same compound as these people. So you soon get to know them really well, that if something at home is quite not right, because of the way the personalities that you get to know and understand, it's different, then there's kind of something's playing on someone's mind. And that's kind of how intimate you are with each other, because you are just on it every day, and you get to know these people so well. Even if you don't get on a professional level, it's irrelevant.
Yeah,
you're on it together, because like I say, everyone needs to be on the same mission, everyone needs to be focused, and everyone needs to make sure that when they go away, they can have a devastating effect once there's an escalation of evil. So we have to make sure we're all on the same song sheet. We're fit, we're robust, but also we understand the intent and mission command, which is so important. So you do that for 6 months before you even go away. And then we hit Iraq in 2004 at the uprising. So we were quite unfortunate, really. People would be like, yeah, we loved it. It was the first time we was out there absolutely full-on war fighting from start to finish. But I see it as a little bit unlucky, because there was no slow time orientation. There was no real handover takeover process, which normally that's what we do. We do a full-scale handover. This was like a fighting, crazy handover takeover, trying to understand the areas that you're in, the vulnerable points, the vulnerable areas, the spot codes, and you're trying to take all this in, but you're fighting like mad for the first time. And it was, for me personally, really, really hard to take it all in, to understand what I'm doing, to then try to command and lead with soldiers who have been in Iraq for the last 6 months, who are all over it, who get it, and it's like us for the first time experiencing kinetic warfighting, and how you're reacting to that as well, because you get given the best training and you deliver the best practice, but you never know how you're going to react until you're in that situation and shit hits the fan. And I used to question myself, thinking, I wonder how I'm going to react when I'm under effective enemy fire and it's like real time, because you never know, and it's fight or flight. And this was the first time I was reacting when it was like real life, full on fighting. And but flexibility is a principle of war. You've got to be flexible. They say in the military, no plan survives contact. So you can plan and plan and plan. When it goes noisy, there's always going to be something that you either missed, or there's something that you have to change because it doesn't suit what you thought originally that was going to happen. But you just have to evolve and be flexible. Don't let that overwhelm you, and just keep moving forward. And that's what I was doing at a young age as a lance corporal. So I wasn't a tactician at this point. I'd only done a junior NCOs cadre, so I was trying to figure out, what sort of leader that I was. I tried to embrace the chaos, which it's quite difficult sometimes, and lead with integrity and with courage. And it was a tough tour for many reasons. And obviously the Battle of Danny Boy, it's a very famous battle in its own right for a number of different reasons, from going into heavily defended positions across open ground like our greatest generation did, to then years later have the public inquiry of murder, mutilation and mistreatment from our actions that day, which were headed up by Phil Shiner, who was stripped of his honorary decorates for basically, it was deliberate lies and reckless speculation and ingrained hostility, but it still lasted for 5 years. So it had a big impact on my mental well-being, really.
If you guys enjoyed that clip, please do me a huge favor before you go and head over to our Into the Mind podcast official page, where we have the raw, uncut Into the Mind podcast, and hit that subscribe button. And the more subscribers we get, the more incredible guests we can get on the show. I really appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you so much. And I'll see you all real soon.